أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're going to start today inshallah with check-ins. So essentially how everything has been going, how your strategic planning has been going in terms of your life goals and just in general vision planning and so on. And what is challenging that you would like some tips on? What is working, what is not working, what are some things that we didn't discuss but you would like some more information on, and so on. Okay, so we were focusing on assessing current whatever situation that a person might be in as part of vision and so on, and also sometimes internally you can focus on the assessment before you have like a short-term goal, for example, as part of the general framework of the vision. We had a long discussion today in the on this slide right here, so that took away from my time today, which is no problem inshallah, because these are good conversations and that's the intent of having this question here to begin with. So today inshallah we're only going to go over one story. We talked about these things last time, and I said today I'm going to give some stories, and so let me give you one story and then we'll continue this next time inshallah. So that one story is the situation of a mother and daughter. They had some conflicts, and so the mother asked us to come over, and we spoke to both of them, and we realized that this daughter had certain things that she was holding on to from the past that hadn't been resolved, and the mother was not necessarily aware of these things, at least the way that the daughter had perceived them. One thing to remember in these situations is that a person goes through an experience, and this experience is a very real experience to them, but it may not be something that you agree with, and you don't need to agree with that, right? In the sense of the process that they went through to get to that conclusion at the end. You may not agree with the assumptions that they had made and stuff like that to come to the end feeling, but the feeling is just the end, and you just need to acknowledge where the person stands. This is where a person is, they're telling you where they stand, how they feel today, and that's it. You can appreciate that, you can acknowledge that. For example, if a person is wearing a particular color for their t-shirt, for example, that day you can acknowledge that. Whether you like that shirt or not, whether you like whatever, that's a different topic, right? But just acknowledging what you see as a fact in front of you. This person is going through pain and like they're going through some sort of hurt or whatever. Let me acknowledge that hurt. I do understand that you're going through some hurt, and I see that you're hurting a lot and it's impacting your life. I see that, right? I understand that. I see what, that. Now let's unpack, the next step would be when the person feels that you appreciate the fact that they're acknowledge their current state of being, right? This is their current state of being. Then you can go back and go through the process of how they got to that conclusion, right? And maybe they had made some assumptions that were not correct. Maybe they assumed the person had an evil intent because, what else could it be and stuff like that in a particular situation. And so they felt like this person is intentionally trying to harm me. And so they felt that way and they went along with that assumption and they kept on moving. Now, that person put something in their, metaphorical bag, which would be your baggage eventually, right? And then they didn't sit down and evaluate, okay, did I make the right assumption? Was this even true? Did I look at all the other pieces of interactions that I've ever had with this person? And did I end up coming up with the proper conclusion in the grand scheme of things on this particular instance that this person is a negative or a bad person or has evil intentions for me or so on? Maybe that person then didn't do that. So this is where I can unpack and help them sort of discuss and analyze that stuff, right? So the assumptions that were made, the entire context, the process, that eventually led up to them feeling the way they did. So just because you acknowledge a person, the person's current state of being and the hurt that they go through is not the same thing as necessarily agreeing with the process and the assumptions that they went through to come to that end conclusion or the whatever that they thought was true, their small t truth, and then felt the hurt. The capital T truth in this context is just the end feeling that the person is going through, but it might have been built on small t truths that were assumptions and misunderstandings and so on. So this is where I can go back. So this is what happened in this case, and at the end of the day, what I did is help this person, help the mother and the daughter realize. So in a sense, it was like a idea of facilitating conversation. They probably didn't think that they needed to have in that way, right? So we sat down, no judgments and stuff. We said, hey, the daughter started speaking. The mother started, understanding what the complaints were, and then we gave the mother a chance to, say, discuss her perspective. And she mentioned that she didn't think about it. She didn't even realize that this is how what she was doing came off. And so she said, no, that's not the reason I did this. And here's the other reasons and stuff like that that I was thinking of. In fact, right, when the daughter realized that there were other factors in play that she hadn't even considered, it helped her understand. Okay, let me unpack and say, unhook those anchors, those negative memory anchors in the past, unhook them, and then I can continue moving forward, because those are the things that were holding her back. They were sort of like the drag that were holding her back. These were the ropes that were tied in the past and that she needed to unhook and disconnect from. So when she realized that the mother didn't have that evil intent, then it made it a lot easier for her to be able to move forward. And so this is important because this girl was a young girl, right? She was in, like, I think she was in first or second year in college, and as a result, she had relatively fewer data points to base her perspective, her trend line. And remember, we talked about trend lines. You have data points and you have sort of like a trend line that gives you an idea how to navigate in the future. So this is what happened in her case. She had fewer data points in terms of life experiences and so on compared to her mom, right? Or compared to many others. So she didn't really think about all the other possibilities that could have been, or maybe she didn't realize them. And so based on those fewer data points, and because of those few data points that actually weighed more from her perspective, like a test is worth more than like a homework assignment, so those weighed more for her. And because there were fewer overall data points, those fewer data points had these weight, like these heavy anchors, or these heavy data points worth more. So then these were holding her her trend line in the negative direction, right? And so it made sense for her, even though there was, there's some fallacy in the whole thing, right? There was a misunderstanding, all that. It made sense for her then to be able to disconnect and, for her to feel negative and so on, until she was able to unpack, unhook, and so on, and then be able to see things in a different way. So this is the law of large numbers, that the more data points that you have in a statistical sample, then the more the sample starts representing the actual mean. And so the more data points that she has from her mom, and the more that she's able to unhook and sort of weigh things appropriately, instead of weighing negative experiences more heavily than positive experiences, then inshallah it's going to help her normalize. And it seems that this has been working, because she has been every free time she reached out to us, trying to figure out like trying to brainstorm how she can navigate things in a way, and trying to acknowledge that that she might have initial negative perspectives, but she wants to get used to thinking of things with more like factors considered and so on. So this is the story for today, inshallah. And there are several cases that you might find like this in your own personal stories, in your own personal context, and I hope that inshallah this benefits you. So I know today's thing is short, inshallah, but um, if I feel like there's some more content that I might want to extract from this particular story, I'll do that next time, inshallah. We'll continue with some other stories that I have lined up over here, inshallah. With that, your takeaway is try to take the story that we talked about, apply it in your lives as much as possible, try to see how you might be doing some of the same things, and see if you can unhook and move past some of the pains that you've gone through. And unhook also by acknowledging that you might have made some assumptions. They might not have matched the other person's the actual reality. And so appreciating that fact that, okay, my assumptions don't mean that they're actually realities in the other person's mind and intentions and so on. So let me acknowledge that and actually like unhook and sort of like move forward accordingly. And if I need to confront a person, and you can acknowledge that maybe I misunderstood some of the things that I perceived from them, and I was wrong in that, and it's okay to accept that, because it helps mend relationships and patch things up between people. So do that if during the time that we have, inshallah, and moving forward until we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that, inshallah, we're going to go ahead and conclude. So this is also your takeaway and your homework, and inshallah we'll continue the stories next time. With that, subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.